Here's another common use for Excel that I find, at least in my world, a lot of people want to know how to do this. And it's working with grades in Blackboard. How do we get the grades out of Blackboard and then bring them into Excel? So for instance, at our college, we have to turn in all of our grades in an Excel spreadsheet at the end of the semester. And so we use Blackboard, but then at the end of the semester, I got to take all those grades out of Blackboard, put them in Excel. How do I do that? First, I go into my class. And then inside Blackboard, I go into the Grade Center if I've been using the Blackboard Gradebook, which I highly recommend if you aren't using it because it super automates a lot of stuff and saves time for you as an instructor. So I go into the full Grade Center and it's going to load the entire gradebook. And once the entire gradebook has been loaded, I could come over here to the right and I could choose Download. So now I'm going to download the entire gradebook. And it asks me, do you want to download the full Grade Center? I do. Do you want it to be comma separated or tab separated? It doesn't matter, just so long as once it's downloaded, I remember, and so I import it with the right delimiter. Do you want to include hidden information? Not necessary. Where do you want to download it to? My computer. So I'm going to click Submit, and Blackboard's going to think for a moment and provide me with this download link. So I click that, and it just downloaded that to my computer. So now I can once again go into Excel. And when I'm in Excel, I could choose Open, which is where? Down here at the bottom left, Open Other Workbooks. I click that, and I choose my computer, because it's somewhere on my computer, and it's in Downloads right there. And I'm not seeing it. That's because right here, once again, it's saying, are you only looking for Excel files? I am not. I want to see all files. And now there's my Blackboard Gradebook. I click Open, and it's saying, how is this data separated, and it's delimited, and it's delimited by what? It's delimited by a comma. And then I hit next and just finish, and kabam, there's my gradebook in Excel. So there's a couple of things in here that I'd want to do to change all of this information around. First thing I'm going to do is just delete last names so that, you know, this data is now anonymous. And I can take away that little faded out area on the left. But now that has been deleted, I want to come in here and I want to clean up all of these entries. So I've got blank entries, I've got 100%, and I've got some stuff in here that says needs grading. So like that one right there says needs grading. Of course, if this was the end of the semester, I would have graded everything. But you know, it's not. So, but how do I get all of these to be percentages? I'm going to first apply freeze panes. I'm going to keep all of these three columns on the left. I'm going to keep all of this row on the top, so I'm going to click right there, and everything above it and to the left will be frozen when I choose freeze panes. And now all of that is frozen, so as I scroll, right, everything is staying at the top and over on the left, at least those columns and rows. All right, so now that I have that, I'm going to select all of this area in the middle where I have, heck, it goes all the way out here. And there we go, that's the end. I'm going to select all of that, and that is all going to be formatted. So right click, format cells. It's all going to be percentage with 2 decimal places. So I click OK, everything gets formatted. Now I want to choose all of the empty cells in this table right there. So just select that area. And I'm going to go to Control Find, and I'm going to choose, so Control F brings up the Find and Replace dialog box. I'm going to choose Replace. Find what? I want to find just empty cells and replace it with 0. Let's see if we replace all, if that happens. Bam, everything got turned into zeros as an empty cell. What I want to replace next, I'm going to click OK on that. I'm going to replace needs grading and replace all. Bam, 9 replacements. Anything else I want to replace? I don't know. Let's look through that data and we could see if there's anything else in there that might want to be replaced. Look at that. There's some 11,000%. So for some reason when I converted to percentage, sometimes those numbers go wacky. So with this entire, ooh, look, there's in progress. So let's change that. Control Find in progress. And let's replace that with 0. Replace all. 18 replacements. Close. So with this entire area selected, I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to go to Conditional Formatting. I'm going to choose New Rule. And I'm going to choose to format only cells that contain a cell value that is greater than, let's make it 100 11%. Sometimes I get 110% on assignment because I believe that positive reinforcement, intermittent positive reinforcement, trains students to psychologically be like that little mouse in their cage trying to figure out what did I do right that time to get the little 110% pellet to come out. So sometimes I randomly give 110% pellets for really good assignments. And my hope is it makes the students try to work harder and figure out what do I need to do to continue getting those 110s. And that's great over inflation. So I click a color for anything that's over 111% is going to be that color. Hit OK. Do we have any over 111%? Yeah, right there. Look at those. Those are huge. What if we'd had this one and it was 115%? It would go to that color, but it was only 110, so it's not that color. So now basically I just have to come in here and just make sure, right? Make sure that none of my scores are off the chart. None of my scores are off the chart. So there we go. I've got my entire gradebook brought into Excel, and I have freeze panes, and I have my scores over here to the right. The last thing I might want to do if I wanted to assign a letter grade is insert a VLOOKUP column. And to do that, I'm going to create a little table that I could reference over here of what my scores mean. And so part of those will be percentage. So I'm just going to highlight a few cells there, format cells, percentage. Don't need two decimal places. So it'll be 0, 60, 70, 80, 80, 90. And then anything between 0 and 60 will be an F, B, C, B. And anything over 100 or over 90 will be an A. So now I come here and I choose formulas. Where is it? It's under lookup and reference, VLOOKUP. And what value do I want to look up? Which value do I want to look up? And when you bring up the VLOOKUP function, here it tells you what it does. And down here it tells you which each different option here does. So the value I want to look up is right there. What's the table I'm looking it up from? It's right there. And do I want to hold that table constant? I do. So I'm going to put $signs around all the column and row references to hold those references constant. I want to return column number 2, right, which is that column right there. I click OK, brings an F. I use autofill to copy that down over the range, and now I have all the letters for each student depending upon their score. If I wanted to add a curve in there, I could have just created an extra little column right here, and I could have said, hey, this is the curve, and then over here I'm going to make that a percentage. And I could add 2% if I want. So their grade would be equal to that plus that. And I want to hold that reference right out here constant. So I put the $signs in front of the column reference and in front of the row reference. Hit enter. Copy this down. All right. And now I could, I've added 2% to everybody's grades. I could change this VLOOKUP function here. Right, so let me just go into formulas and choose insert function. It brings this dialog box back up. I'm going to change it from looking up CM2, which would have been right there, to CN2. And just make that a little adjustment there, CN2, okay. And now drag that down. And so I could see, how could I get some more A's? Maybe if I give everybody 20%, much better. I've got a few A's, some B's, some C's. Right? And I could even run an average on that right here. If I wanted to insert another little function, average. What is my average percentage in the class? 60%. Well, I need to get that to 70. There we go. That's 70%. There's the average, and these are the different grades every student got. Of course, this is a theoretical example. If you're throwing a 30% curve, I don't know what that means, but I've never given 30%. Sometimes I've given up to 4. Given up to 4. So that's bringing your grades into Excel out of Blackboard and creating a gradebook, which is just amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Bada boom, bada bing. We are done. Our work here is done. It's done. We get to turn in our gradebook and either go to winter break or spring break or summer, depending upon if you're on the quarter or semester system. So that is always good news.